Hello, and welcome to Mentor Dino. I'm your host, Caitlin Rossier. I am an architect and founder of Mentor Dino. I firmly believe that architecture, engineering, and construction professionals can achieve true success by embracing human skills as their guiding principle. So each week, I interview amazing professionals in and around the AEC industry as a way to share stories, inspiration, and advice for others finding their own unique career path. Thank you to all of our current subscribers, and if you're new, we'd love to have you join our community. So if you like this episode, please do me a favor and hit subscribe, like, or leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support them on their own career journey. So let's dive in. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Welcome to the Mentor Dino podcast. I would like to welcome Gus Bernal of Gus Bernal Film, Photo, and Education down in Austin, Texas. And he is also the podcast editor of Mentor Dino, has been a huge help for me. And so I am so excited to share with you more of his story today. Thank you so much, Gus, for taking the time to speak with me.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I assume that I'm the first non-architect, non-designer, non-construction person on the podcast.
But I will say it's always being a storyteller on design. So you're always welcome on this side of the podcast. So, but in all traditional sake, we'll start out with the loaded question. And do you mind introducing yourself to my listeners and letting them know a little bit about your experience and journey so far in your career?
Okay. So first of all, everyone's called me Gus, but my name is Gustavo Bernal. But, Gus sounds better. We use it a lot for, that's actually what my wife said to use for professional reasons is better. So I was born in Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela, and I was always curious about film, media in general. In fact, I started getting interested in the process, I think, when I was 9 or 10. So I began, doing some digging, and it was a great opportunity for me to discover, what I was interested. And I was always self-taught, and this is probably one of the most peculiar parts of my journey, is because I started teaching myself all these different things, like reading a lot, watching movies, doing different process. And interesting enough, I decided to apply to universities, and I was doing this when I was in middle school and in high school, and some of my classmates didn't understand, okay, what's up with this guy? Because you're always kind of like wired to go into architecture, being a lawyer, engineer, doctor, and all these different things. But sometimes people in media are not perceived the same way. So I started getting involved into the process. It was a lot of argument with my parents to understand what I wanted to do. So that was kind of one of the tricky part. However, they allow me to pursue that. So I started working with different people in the industry. And I feel that I was like a fish, in the water, just doing all this work. So I started working for different production companies in Venezuela. And I also had the opportunity to go to film school. And in film school, it went so well that decided to even hire me as a TA and then as a teacher, because they thought, okay, you have kind of like both skills. You are able to be a good mentor, teach, but also you're good at what you're doing. So this happened. And then finally, my last job, I navigate through production companies. I navigate through networks, TV networks. And my last job before moving to the United States was HBO, Latin America, which was an amazing experience for me because, when you live in South America, you see things, you see Hollywood and the industry in Europe and other different countries like, oh, those are the gods. And then you just wanted to be part of that. So the fact that I have I was now in touch or being able to, work with that kind of material, it was very inspiring. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I moved to the U.S. I moved to New York, and there it was a mind-blowing experience. Imagine somebody who's coming from South America and then go to New York instead of other cities, not a small city, a big city. So New York is, I cherish those 14 years of life in New York. I work in advertising, and I work in different advertising agencies. I work for different production companies. So there was a lot going on. I work with clients, and it was a great time for me because in that time, advertising industry was divided in two different markets, like market for Hispanic advertising and also for American advertising. So it was great because I fit right away. I was working with people doing commercials for Nissan, for DirecTV, for Home Depot, Sprint, Lexus. Even I had the pleasure of producing one of the videos that it was submitted for when New York was the candidate for the Olympics in 2012. So I thought it was great that I did a video for that, and it was presented to the committee. But then I also have a great opportunity to work with celebrities. So that was another big thing for me. I cut 2 commercials with Spike Lee, which I think was one of the highlights of my career. I did some projects with Movie, with Gorillas, with also I did a video with Questlove. So I think there was, and even music videos too. So it was a life-changing experience for me. I was teaching. But also I work in, independent projects. I cut 2 independent movies while I was in New York, which is a completely different experience of cutting a commercial, because a commercial is just 30 seconds. But when you're working in a movie, you're spending months and months and months editing, and then in conversations and collaborations with the director and all these different people. Then I met my wife, Alexandra, who's an architect, and probably some of you are familiar with her work with WiA. And she, because I was self-taught, one of the biggest pivoted moments for me is like she said, you need to go back to college because you don't have a degree. So I said, okay, fine, I will do it. I will pursue that. But being in New York, it was impossible for me to quit all that. So I decided to do it online. So the university was in San Francisco, and I was still working at advertising. So it was interesting to see how this dynamic was going. And this gave me a lot of, it was such a vivid experience for me that's why I understand when people has to move to online during the pandemic. So I have a lot of respect for that. So I did it for 4 years and I graduated. I got my degree. So that was to me one of the, a big highlight to me. Then, and by the way, my degree is in visual effects and animation, not in film. And the reason why I decided to do animation visual effects is because I wanted to challenge myself. And this is something that is part of my journey. I always like to change. I always like to evolve. I always like to try different things. And that's why I will never stay in a company, for more than 5 years. I will go, okay, let's do advertising. Let's do independent films. Let's do this, let's do that. So that's what happened with, when I challenged myself to do this degree and I graduated. So it was a wonderful experience. Then I have a child, and basically we decided to move to Austin for different reasons. I think is when you have a kid in New York, it's kind of hard to live that experience if you are not making good money for it. And then in Austin, it was probably a transformative experience for me so far, because when I get there, Austin is not as big as New York, so I was applying to advertising, to production companies, rejection. I think I lost track of how many rejections I got for job applications, and also the system is different now. So again, it was more exploration. Alexandra also suggested me, why don't you just start volunteering? So I started volunteering for a nonprofit that provide education to children, provide education for arts. And I was still doing my freelance work, editing videos and stuff. And the education field went amazing. I just finished working for the organization about a month ago. because I wanted to focus on my business. But I taught so many students. It was such a wonderful experience. And I never thought that I had that skill, that energy. I mean, how you see kids and they see you and then they feel that, okay, this guy is for real. This guy knows how to manage, how to do things with me, like how to film, how to edit, how to produce a film. And, in fact, one of the best compliments I get with children says when they said, you are not a person who lecture me. So maybe they're used to hear mom and dad lecturing them so many times, and I don't lecture my students. I try to engage with them artistically, and I made so many wonderful films with them. And then the pandemic hit, and that was another moment to reinvent myself, to pivot. First, I started teaching online. And I did it for 3.5 years. It was another wonderful experience because I taught, I think, about 750 students around the world, 37 countries. That was something that I will never forget. Is I was working, 24/7, teaching students in England, teaching students in, I don't know, Iceland. Then at night, you're teaching students in China. And all of them, they're learning how to do movies with phones because that was the thing. So I did it for 3.5 years. Then pandemic, kind of like the restrictions was lifted. And that was the same time that Alexandra started focusing on WiA, started getting involved with WiA. Everything started with just a simple video recorded with different phones. We put it together, we submitted, and it was something that it was very unexpected. And then thanks to that, we started doing the series. I work with her producing the videos, filming the videos, editing the videos, and delivering the videos. She is the mastermind in the project. And then also we start doing virtual tours, which I thought it was another amazing experience for me to learn, because we were going to sites that you don't have access to it because the pandemic. So it turns out that I started learning the language of architects. I started learning all these different things about, you need to navigate the space this way. You need to show this detail. So I didn't know anything about that. I mean, I was interested in architecture and I love photography. So I was doing photography and I thought it was amazing. But, trying to understand the language of architecture, that was a completely different thing. So my involvement with WiA was, it's been enormous, producing all the series, the profile series. And also a very transformative moment to me has been how moments, not moment, like I will say plural, because most of the architects are very welcoming to me. I have people who start encouraging me, why don't you just get involved into producing all this content instead of just doing advertising and doing all the different things. And that was the next step. Now how going back to your introduction, yes, now I have a business because I was encouraged by Alexandra, encouraged by a lot of people. You should do it. And now, things been amazing. And I still growing as a professional, still working on so many different projects, keep learning different things. But also it's very moving to me because I never thought that, we'll be working together as a team with Profiles, and how, the reception of all the work that I've been doing so far.
Yeah, you've been all over the place and hit almost like I've had so many conversations with people figuring out even what they want to do as an engineer or an architect, but the media side has really lend yourself to reinvent yourself multiple times, regardless of where you're at, and always being able to learn new things and learning a new language at this point, because I always say architecture is a whole nother language on what we talk about, the different slang we use just in our archi speak. But I like that you come at it from a different lens on how to feel and show a space in a different lens than a traditional architect that may not understand the video side.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get into the storytelling, I do want to step back, and even just you moving from different countries, like me even being in Pittsburgh, I would have an eye-opening experience moving to New York City that I can only imagine what it was like for you. Do you have any advice for others trying to pivot to new either countries or cities and trying to reinvent their career or figuring that out? I don't know.
Well, one thing that I must say is you really have to, have a lot of patience when you decided to move to another city, to another country. Is you can't just simply get the results that you're hoping. I mean, I was frustrated when I moved to Austin. I mean, my process was slow, and this city is pretty slow when it comes to response. When you in New York, you write an email and people would reply to you in 30 seconds, or less than that. However, in Austin, it will be. I mean, some people will reply to you in a month or maybe in 2 weeks, and that was driving me crazy, how that process goes. So you need a lot of patience, but you need to research a lot what you wanted to do. Even for me, that I research a lot, Austin, to, have my own work here, it didn't work the way I wanted. It didn't work. So I had to, start testing new things. And that's the whole pivoted thing is probably one of the most successful things that I have, and I embrace it. I don't know how I do it, and I do it more like naturally. However, you need to being able to accept change, and it's difficult sometimes because we are, as a humans, we like routines. We feel comfortable with routines, and there's a point that you stick into that routine, and then when things change, that affects you. I mean, I had to learn that with children's, because when you're working with them on a film, this is not like a grown-ups making a film or working in a project. It's not the same thing when you have children's. You have children's, and I mean, they're very unexpected, their reactions or what they wanted to do. So you have to be patient. You had to research, but still you have to embrace change. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. I do it sometimes, and also that is related to the work I do, because, like you said about architecture, I done pharmaceutical, beer commercials, car commercials, independent filmmaking, short documentaries, public service announcement, and my last thing I did before moving here was pharmaceutical, which is probably one of the less sophisticated kind of commercials, when you just simply hear somebody saying, please, you might get dizzy if you operate this machinery, blah, 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 here and there. And then you see, like a couple dancing or cutting tomatoes. And that's basically what an advertising for pharma is. So I had to learn new skills. And that's why I think it's important that you embrace change, and you're able to being able to accept that sometimes things they're not going the way you want it. In fact, they take risks. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, because change is scary. Even if I have like a long-standing client and I'm still doing architecture in the same project type, it's a whole new set of personalities, a different timeline, a different set of users, that sometimes me just shifting from big project to big project is like, okay, I got to reinvent myself. I can't do the exact operation I did before because it's different personalities and what they want and need and how they can interpret design, how they can or cannot read a floor plan, and so on. So you're always kind of reinventing how you're doing different things. So, do you have more fun on the shorter content or the longer content?
That's a great question. I think it's also due to as you're younger, and this is what happened now with technology. It's like people who watch shorter content, I think, is more interested or appeal. Let's say when you see those 15-second stories or 30-second stories, 1-minute stories. So I did enjoy a lot cutting commercials and doing storytelling in 30 seconds and 1 minute. And but I think as you progress in the industry and you learn more about how to tell better stories, that is when you are able to examine that, okay, this story is not 30 seconds. This story is not 1 minute. This story is not 3 hours. This story is 90 minutes. So you see it constantly with films that you watch movies or you see TV shows. I remember in the past shows, it was just 45 minutes, just an episode. And now you just go to streaming and you watch a 30-minute show episode, or then you watch like a 90-minute one. So I see the change. I enjoy working with long projects now, I feel, because I have more opportunities to use resources and also allow myself to take time to breathe, because the stories need that time. It happens when you read a book. I mean, probably books are the most interesting one, because when you read a book, you can spend a month, you can spend 2 weeks or even 1 week to read it. However, music or films and TV shows are a different type of medium. And then the studios or the creators are the ones who determine how long a show and a movie or a song could be. So we are determined by the time. So I like to take time now to tell stories, because I think it's compelling how you can just navigate to all these different parts of a story.
Yeah, I know I feel restricted sometimes when I have to do just 15 seconds, but it's like another game to play where I'm like, how can I tell this story better? And it's like practicing storytelling in such a way that's concise that when you do have to tell a story that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you can kind of organize it in your head ahead of time when you practice all the short form. But jumping into some of the videos, I know you mentioned the Women in Architecture through AIA Austin's profile series. And I also wanted to bring up the short documentary you did for Tiny Victories 2.0, A Tale on Empathy. How do you approach, like, one is telling stories of more professionals and women in architecture, and another is telling a story of architecture in the project. How does production come to life for you? Like, trying to put my Gus hat on, and like, if I'm looking at my own projects or even me interviewing professionals, how can I as an architect learn to see it differently?
Okay.
That's a loaded question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's fine. Let me start with Tiny Victories, because I think this one is easier to explain how was the process. And in fact, sometimes process, in architecture happens too, in other different processes. Sometimes you have a vision for something, and then a little accident happened that changed the course of or the direction of what you're creating. So with Tiny Victories, it was the AAA Film Challenge, which is this competition that the AAA National was doing, where you produce a movie, a short documentary kind of style movie, and you have a prompt, but also you have limitations. For instance, I think during the pandemic, it was about 90 seconds. And the work that it was done was amazingly. And then the one that I participate officially, I participated with one with Alexandra's project manager, which is for Structure Studios. I did a project with them, but I didn't have a lot of control on that one. I was facilitating the work and making sure that it was done. However, Tiny Victories, it was, completely mine. And I basically, the prompt in that time, it was doing a film about community work. And that community work, the film needs to be exactly 3 minutes long. That's a big challenge to do. So Alexandra was the one who encouraged me to participate. I reached out. I was lucky enough that I'm a really good friend with Christy Taylor, who is one of the partners of Chiyoko Design. In fact, her daughter was my student for a couple of years. So that was another connection. And I reached out to her. She got the team. I was able to interview all the people involved in the project. Then I filmed an interview with Shelby Blessing, who is on page, and she was leading the AI Austin Design Boys, which is the committee that select the projects to be built at Community First Village, and Mobile Los Fishes, which is the organization that manage all the little tiny homes. And then finally, I interviewed Sarah Satterley, which is the architecture on site for the Community First Village Mobilos and Fishes. So I produced a film. It was 3 minutes long. I was very happy with. I sent it to the AH Film Challenge. It did pretty well in I think that was the public voting. I think it was about third or something, but it didn't make it into the finalist. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I was not making the short film for the money or for something else. I think it was a great way for me to explore as a filmmaker. However, the not making into the finalist was some kind of like a did I say catalysm? Catalyst. Thank you. Catalyst. Because when I saw the film, I said, well, this is not a movie that I can do in 3 minutes. This needs to be longer. There are so many stories that we have to tell here and there. So I went back to the drawing board. I re-edited the whole film again. And I submit, and finally, I finished the film, and it was 8 minutes and a half or something like that. Little did I know, I sent the movie to a lot of film festivals, especially focusing on architecture or community work. And the film have done amazingly. It was presented in a Copenhagen Film Festival. It was a finalist at the Biennale of Architecture Film Festival in Venice. Won an award in Detroit for this wonderful film festival called Better Cities Film Festival, which is movies about how to improve the quality of life of people in the cities. So we won the Emerging Ideas Award for the film. So then after that, we start getting all these different recognitions, like Abu Dhabi Film Festival, Dubai Film Festival, Chicago Film Festival, the Dallas Film Festival, London Film Festival, and also we got an invitation for another festival in Lecce, Italy. So a very, very random thing, but very, very proud of that. And the last one that we got, which to me was the most random story ever, is in the middle of March, I got an email from somebody from a museum in Melbourne. And I thought when I got the email, okay, this looks like a scam or something like that. This doesn't make any sense. But then I researched of the person on LinkedIn, and then yes, the director of the museum of one of the museums of Melbourne, and they were celebrating Design Week in Melbourne. So it turns out that the movie was presented at an event with rock stars, architects from Australia, talking about the work of the community work that is done, and they decided to show tiny victories there. So
that's awesome. Never rely on just a group of architect panelists to say if something's good or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So this is a great example of how a journey, and to me, this is 2-year journey. A great journey for me, because I already finished the movie. It's been in all these festivals. I recently I was delivering one of the awards to the people of Community First Village, and I gave them the award, and they said, this is yours. It's not just mine. The movie won because all of us work together and collaborate to make this a reality. So I requested to the Better City Film Festival, I need a certificate for Austin Design Boys. I need one for Chioco Design, and also need one for Community First Village. So because, all of us were part of that award. So this is a proof that a story that it was 3 minutes long didn't work the same way that an 8 minute long works. Mm-hmm. And this is a proof, because it's the same. It's basically kind of like the same idea, the same concept. However, it was delivered with a longer length. With WiA Profiles is a different story, because I first of all, you're interviewing architects, so you're listening to all the wonderful things they're saying about their work, but also about their community work and how they integrate, they work and they champion inclusivity, and all these different things in the workplace. So the process is very interesting for me, because it's a sit down interview that it will take between 30 minutes to an hour. And then me behind the camera, I would basically with a piece of paper writing notes about, okay, I can cut it here. Because here's the thing. I've been a film editor for all my life until finally in this past few years, I jump into video production. So the dynamic is completely different. It's kind of like the same thing. Like if I had to draw a reference or a similarity with architecture, it would be imagine someone who just basically do all the drawings or all the design, but then sometimes you don't have the chance to go to the construction. Not the case for everybody, but imagine if someone doesn't have the ability to go to the construction, and then basically you have to finish it. So in the case of my work is I assemble all the footage, put it together, and tell the story. This time I was able to shape the story on set. So it's interesting because I have a little piece of paper and notepad and start writing, what they say. And then I said, okay, I need a photo of this. I need a photo of that. I need a video of this. I need a video of that. So I'm already editing the film or the profiles episode right there when I'm filming. So when I finish the interview, it's great because I can start filming, the complementary material like the B-roll, which is, I need you to walk over there. I need you to open this door. I need you to show me this location. And then you start assembling the thing right there on set. So when you get to editing, you start putting this together. Still, you have the architects sending you photos because sometimes they talk about their parents, their kids, or sometimes they're talking about their amazing trips, and which I think is so magical when they're talking about, I went to this place or I was this place. And then it's, I need to see those photos because people want to see those when we see the profiles. So it's been evolved from the past few years since we started till here, but the system is still the same. It's a storytelling. You're telling the story using just their testimonials. So it's an interesting process to make profiles every month or every 2 months, depends on the frequency.
Yeah, and you guys are just focusing in the Austin area too, so then you're more going on site and talking to them.
We did it the first. Well, we have done it with Austin, but then it got ambitious and it said, can we send you to San Antonio? So we interview someone in San Antonio. Can we send you to Dallas? So we interview someone in Dallas. Can we send you to Houston? So we interview someone in Houston.
But leading into our Mentor Dino podcast and going into editing where I don't have control of other people's audio quality, the video, any type of surroundings that they have. So how's that a different challenge since the other ones you had a little bit more control of the setting? I know we'll probably do a bloopers at the end of the year of all the things that I can run into, but what's it like on your side, control versus no control?
I have to say that when you don't have control, your boundaries for creativity go forward. Moves for me is great because it's all these it's this thrill that is like, okay, this is difficult, this is not easy, so I need to find a solution every time that I'm doing something. So it's interesting because it's a different kind of challenge. And the first challenge is what we call single camera, means that this is my camera, this is your camera, and that's it. So we don't have there's other podcasts that we see on YouTube that, they have all this crew and you have a camera on this angle and then they can just fix it by, editing and cutting to different cameras. But here we don't have that luxury. So to me, it's been finding creative ways to solve problems. And we're talking about simple problems, not just somebody making a mistake and, let's cut it here, then just put a transition, something that, covers the screen and then we go to the next scene or something like that. However, I've been finding issues like, for instance, someone who have an internet bandwidth issue, and for some reason the person seems to be frozen for a couple of seconds, and then you are like, okay, so what's going to happen here? How can we fix this? So I had to find creative ways of kind of make that pause faster so it looks more natural. So that was the kind of things that I was using. This is controversial, but one thing that has been helping me a lot, especially to fix audio, is AI. And I've been using AI a lot, especially, for it's interesting because I'm coming from an industry where I mean, I'm perfectionist when it comes to audio. I'm perfectionist when it comes to video. So everything has to look neat. I mean, I get to the point that even I don't know how it's going to happen when I'm editing this one. So, but
don't give yourself too much
yeah.
hard time.
So I'm obsessed, especially when I see, okay, you know what? The colors are not the same. So let me just tone it down. Let me fix the color from you and let me fix my colors so I can just get everything a little bit more balanced. So that's the first thing I do, correct the colors. Because, I mean, that's crazy. You don't have control over that because everyone have a different camera. We don't have the super camera to record. So we use sometimes a computer camera or sometimes don't have fancy lights to film. So I had to do that. That's the first thing I do. But then
Where the sun sets, I had that happen before I pulled you on board, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they get so dark. And then, I'm learning video and audio editing a lot like how you're training yourself, but I'm trying to catch up and do that quickly. And it's like, oh my gosh, now I have an issue and now I have to figure out and search how to fix the issue. And it was like, I didn't think, oh, the sun's going down, I should make sure they have a lamp on because I know it's going to get dark soon. So
yeah, that's the hard part when you don't have control. I mean, this is the kind of things that you wish that you can just pack a microphone to every interview. Is like, okay, this is the microphone for you to record the audio, but then this is the camera for you to record. I mean, you can do that. It's so hard to manage. So this is a great way for to push my creativity and trying to find solutions to problems between fixing, a shot, color correction, sound. But then with sound is that's what really amazed me is I go to the editing program and start looking, okay, you know what? I'm just going to remove some echo reverberation from the room. And then I'm doing this. But then when it's too noisy, I say, you know what? It's time to call AI to see what AI thinks. And then I've been getting really nice results. I don't fix anything video editing wise in AI, but audio have been a great ally to solve those problems.
Mm-hmm. Even just finding a transcript really helped me learn audio editing because then I could see the words and I could see pauses a little bit quicker. And then, learning Premiere Pro and how to split it. So then it's like when I do the really easy Instagram edits, I almost want that more control that Premiere has because I can see it and try to get that perfectionism in there. But no, it's definitely been fun. But it's like every time something happens, I learn a whole new challenge that can happen with editing. And when I started the podcast, I'd be like, this will be not that hard. I'll just do a recording, maybe edit something. And we don't even really get rid of the ums that often anymore. It makes it more natural.
You can't imagine how I run an episode and start checking if someone just put something like on the table in the boom, or someone is just typing because, I mean, maybe sometimes you get a message in the middle of it and so I start fixing all these different things. But yes, the hums are also trying to fix it if it's possible. But yes, the dynamic of editing a video versus, filming and editing is completely different. And I'm having also another wonderful artistic experience cutting the new series for a Pittsburgh. Because basically it's the same thing. It's like I don't have control over the footage. I just see the footage, I get it. And then you have to start thinking, okay, how can I just make this better? How can I just improve this part? And it's been another wonderful experience to work with the chapter. The first episode, it was released a few days ago and everyone is so happy and proud. And I'm proud too, because I think you forget a little bit of what you're doing because you're filming and then you're editing. So this one was one of those challenges that you need when you are working. And it reminds you what you do and why you're good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll learn along the way. So as episodes come out, they'll figure out, okay, do this differently. Yes. But going more on the AI national side, I know you were part of a group of professionals that presented the power of storytelling, films, and architecture. What opportunities do you see architects are missing out if they're just using photos versus film to tell their project stories?
Well, first of all, A National was amazing. I mean, I don't have to the word to describe this, especially for a non-architect, non-designer, or engineer. It was great to be there. A lot of people was so welcoming, and it was a great experience. This is my third time, not at the national, but talking about storytelling. I mean, I did it on AA Austin, the design conference, and then I did it in the TXA Society of Architects too, and now national. So this is the big leagues. It's just to make it to there and talk about the work. It was a great opportunity to discuss the direction of the industry, and also talking about the work, how we portray the work of construction, architecture, and interior design and landscaping, and how we highlight who's doing the work and who basically enjoys the project, or who is the user when you finish. In other words, yeah, like I said, the user. So it to me, it's been interesting how to do the storytelling. But going back to your question, first of all, I don't think photo is just a limitation. And I wanted to, make it very clear. I think there are two different mediums. Photography is an excellent medium, and it's very challenging just to tell a story with one image. And, your frozen time just like that is daunting. And I try it. I mean, I've done some photography, but I don't know. So in my way, I think I'm great doing filmmaking. People ask me that question several times. I said, yes, I would love to take more photos, but you have people who are big leagues, and they're amazing all the work they do. In fact, when I was in a national with Alexandra, I met Alan Karshmer, who is called the architect's photographer. And I was pretty honored that we bumped into him at the expo, and he said, oh, I'm going to your panel. And I said, what? That was, to me, that was amazing to hear from him. And we went to his panel. We have a brief conversation about it, and we talk about both mediums and how both mediums own their own set of challenges, and how you have the ability to tell stories in so many different ways. So I think for architects, I think it's important that you need to tell stories. And this goes back to the main hook of our panel, which is how mass design decided. This is the hook that we have in our presentation, because they did a piece on 60 Minutes. And basically, they talk about that, film is very important. You need to tell stories. You need to talk about the users. You need to talk about the process. That was a word that is so, so important. And it's great because now we see it more regularly. You see how people talk about the process. You see it on social media, even 15 seconds. Oh, let me show you this 15-second of how the construction is going, or basically a video like Tiny Pictures, how we basically were able to capture in 8 minutes what it's like to, for an architecture firm, create this micro home for a person who doesn't have a home. So everyone is interested in stories. And I think architects should embrace the ability to tell those stories and find ways to use it to their benefit. I've seen a lot of firms who do it. Other firms, I think there's, I have to say that it's a little bit of, people are nervous or they have some fear about the use of the technology, and I completely understand. I mean, for me, it was daunting just trying to understand how is the process of architects, but I was able to, all these years, to now find ways to translate every single thing that they wanted to do and put it on film. However, this is a great opportunity that they need to embrace. They need to find ways to, we need to tell this story. I think we need to talk about this person. And sometimes one thing that I always push is, okay, we need to talk to the architect. We need to talk to the client. We need to talk to the users. We need to talk to the landscaper, the engineers. Every single person involved in the process have a story to tell. Sometimes could be really fun anecdotes. And that's why I feel it is important. I'm in conversations with different firms about different projects, and always my initial interviews are very interesting for them, because they ask, okay, so what do you want to know? It's like, any anecdotes? What do you find when you broke ground for the first time? Do you find something interesting? That will be the story. So stories move me in so many different ways, and how in architecture you can find those stories by, looking to the details, looking to how this project started.
Yeah. And I think if the main design team stays on full time, you can take those stories that you learn from all those user meetings. Like, what was the purpose behind the project? What was the main thing the users are needing or wanting from the project? Or, is there a big moment that you are creating new for them that they're going to experience? And then teaching people, like, I'm even thinking like, hey, whoever's on site, do B-roll and know those important moments. And then you could almost build the B-roll for how the construction is to like the final, and being able to tell that story with different audio on top of it. This is a new way for these couple users to come together and collaborate or heal, and then you see it in the final, and then you can do an anecdote at the end. Like, thinking of that as you're designing, but then letting whoever is going to be on site know about it and teach them some minor video editing, or not even editing, just take the video. So then in the end, it's a whole series of things you can build together to create something, and you don't know where it's going to come from. But it's an education part. Or sometimes I miss taking videos or photos. So I'm like, crap, meant to do that.
I mean, it's hard for me too. Sometimes I go on a site and I'm producing, like recording a video, and I give my phone to somebody. It's like, okay, please take some photos of me, record some videos of me, because I need that for storytelling purpose. I mean, it's not just what I'm capturing on camera. It's like what happened behind the camera. It's also interesting to know. So, yeah.
And I learned a lot just hanging out with you at AI National, because I got to see how you were pulling together different video clips to be able to create and share your story and your experience at the conference, and even be able to take videos of me that everybody will be able to see soon on social media with all the different things I post. But seeing how you captured me having conversations with people, you captured the essence of the event or different critical moments. I even learned just by watching you that I'm like, oh, okay, like this is what you're seeing. And I'm like, oh, he's taking video. Why is he taking a video? Okay, what am I looking at? What am I seeing? So it's a lot about learning design. You just kind of see from learning from others.
Yeah, the national was an interesting process because I wanted to do an episode per day. So imagine what it was for me processing all those videos, and then at night just making sure the video was edited just to submit it to the Instagram the next day. And I still was able to compile all those days in one more video. And I said, this is insane that I'm, you're basically collecting all the different events and happenings. But that's a storytelling. You're basically, how do you try to tell a story that happened in 4 days and 90 seconds for social media? That was hard, but it's possible.
And just the best advice I got whenever I was looking to start this podcast and the YouTube channel side of Mentor Dino was just start. Your first episode, your first video is not going to be your all-star product, but you're going to learn, and it's what's something new you can learn from each video, each experience. So you're always growing, and then you can look back. Like I look back at my old videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't do enough. I could have done this, or like you think of it differently. And so now I'm like, oh, okay, what ones can I redo and do a different way, a different lens, and just take things you've learned to fix and modify. But
it happens to film directors too, how they go back and it's like, oh, I'm just going to use some computerized thing and I'm just going to erase this. It's like, no, it's finished. So let's finish it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for architects learning the video production language and capturing their stories?
Well, I think you answered part of that question is first, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to embrace it. I think people are too wrapped around the fear of, oh, I'm not getting too many likes. This is something that I've been learning for the past few years is, I'm not interested on making a viral video. And this is how society is pushing those limits of you, and you're thinking, oh, I need to make this video that have 1 million likes. And sometimes you're not going to get that. And I think my biggest advice is, do it, try it and see the results, because that's how people react to that kind of content. And, we keep experimenting. I'm always trying to, experiment with times where the photos or where the videos will be posted, at what time, which medium, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, different mediums, the length. I didn't know how powerful it is when you choose a song for a video. What song are you using and why you're using this specific song, or which songs are trendy and which songs are not trendy. So I think it's a lot of experimentation. So you don't be afraid of the medium. Try to use all the tools. I mean, now we have, video editing apps that literally can do a lot of things for you on your phone. There's a lot of potential. Take a leap of faith and, take those risks. Especially, I feel that it's important when you, I think some people are afraid of, taking the risk, and then, it's like, okay, I have a regret for not doing it. I mean, that's in a professional way. Personally, it's a different thing when you decide, oh, yeah, I'm just going to take this risk because if I don't do it, it's not going to happen again. But professionally, it's important to take risk, with your resources and see what, and you can have to create something that is easier. You can create something easy. It's not, I mean, you're not making a feature film for Instagram. You're just, or for LinkedIn, you're making a video that highlights what you been working on.
Yeah. And I think a good example is even that 3-minute video you created for the video challenge with the AIA. And you're like, I didn't do this justice. I need to do it a different way. Editing it again and then doing it the way you thought it needed to be done, right? And then seeing all the awards it's gotten, like just kind of reinventing the wheel and testing it.
Yeah.
Has with like WiA and the profile series, have they, I don't know if they've gotten any different like social media engagement with the videos content being added in?
From what I know, is that's another thing. When you using social media to tell stories, you need to, experiment different places. Sometimes Alexandra said things like, oh, we got a lot of views on LinkedIn more than Instagram, or vice versa. We don't have a lot of control over A. Austin YouTube channel, so we don't know exactly, what is the traction there. We see that the amount of viewers, but I know that LinkedIn has been very successful for that. And I think is also the strategy, because we as videos are about 5 to 7 minutes long. We know that there's some target audience who their attention span is not to watch 7 minutes of video. So the strategy was to create teasers, which is about 1 minute long, or sometimes 1 minute and 10 seconds long. And those are being very successful. Those are very helpful because basically drive the audience to watch the full video. They're interested. Also, there's a compilation video that is being produced at the end of the year with unused questions and answers. So those those costs, get a lot of traction too. Because people, are thirst to know more about these people. And in fact, thanks to, I think Profiles 2022, 2023, thanks to that one, people got inspired and they decided to do a dinner series with basically interview some of the people who are in the videos. And they talk about more, people wanted to do more beyond the videos. So I think is sometimes it's how you use the medium and how you, repurpose the medium. And it's interesting because now I can see that as a pattern. Also, you see a national with future focus, which is a series that, and it's been, so well produced. We were able to meet people from the AI Minnesota and the AI National, and they created the FAIA Legacy Project. And these are also great projects. These ones are like documentaries about fellows. Female fellows, and of course, now the Perspectives series from the AA Pittsburgh. So, and with AA Pittsburgh, because I'm getting like a really good working relationship with the leadership. When with the videos finished, and I said, would you mind if we make a teaser so we can just put it on social media to drive people to the YouTube channel? And they said, yes, let's do it. And then I did a teaser, like a 1 minute thing. So people can just, this is like, okay, this is a minute of what you're missing if you don't watch this episode. So those strategies work.
Yeah. And I've seen, even watching my own stuff, I always find it fun to see what episodes like people gravitate towards YouTube versus listening to just the audio, and then LinkedIn versus Instagram are kind of the main two social media platforms. And it's kind of fun to see what ones do well or do differently. And it's always so hard to predict, but I don't know. It's fun to just like watch the data. I'm a data junkie, so it's not like I'm trying to get every episode to beat the one before that, but it's just seeing who's listening. And it's like, oh, because we talk, at least I get to talk to guests, and I'm not just talking to a wall when I do this podcast. Yeah. But just seeing other people listen and curious to different lives, and hearing the stories we're able to pull out.
Yeah. In other words, I mean, this is basically a 1 hour journey, kind of like a 1 hour journey where basically we're telling a story, and you're basically navigating the story and asking questions to get more answers and get more, information from how I do things. So what is important to me as a filmmaker.
Yeah. And going a little bit more high level. So you talked about the education side, how you've trained over 700 students online just in those couple years and mentored so many professionals in the media production side. But has there been a mentor for your career?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, first of all, like I said, I work with adults and I work with children. So I provide a learning experience. I take this very seriously. And that's one of the things that has been successful for me. And a lot of people within the education industry is interested in working with me, is because they see that I take it seriously. And I think it's important when you're teaching a skill such as filmmaking to adults or children's. It requires enormous patience and determination just to make sure that in a semester you can produce a 5-minute film or a 10-minute film with a group of 15 fifth and fourth graders is a challenge. And one of my mentors always said that it's like, I don't know where you get that patience, but it's amazing what you produce with them. I always say search ways to learn in people provide advice. I don't think it's also mentorship is not, to me, it's not just about giving me advice, but it's also about helping me make the right decisions. It's hard to navigate the industry if you don't have somebody who can tell you, oh, you know what, can you try this? Maybe you should try that. Maybe you should talk to this person. So that's the kind of thing that I feel. And as an educator, you need to, have people around, not only from the film industry. I learned that I now have architects, designers, and people who give me advice. People from the nonprofit business gave me a lot of advice. But also one thing that I think is important, I'm kind of like navigating to this answer because I think it's important for me to kind of highlight the fact that when you need a mentor, that mentor is also a shoulder to cry. I think it's important that this person could provide you with mental health support because, we've been talking a lot about my successes, but also, it's tough to navigate the industry and how to reinvent yourself and continue and keep going. I met so many people in the business that they're no longer in the business. They're, yoga instructors, chefs, people who they said, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't want to do it anymore. So that's why I keep reinventing, because I wanted to keep learning and I wanted to keep trying new things. So in fact, that reminds me to an amazing quote that Evelyn Lee, who is going to be the president of AA National in 2025, she talked about like the pressure of the industry and how, you need that support. You need people to check with you and make sure that you're okay. So that's mentorship. To me, as mentorship is give you advice, but also being able to support you if you're not feeling well. So, parents were my first mentors. I mean, my dad taught me a lot about, loving art, loving film, music, literature in general. My mom taught me a lot about professional values and ethics, besides also teaching me how to cook, which I love to cook. But she taught me a lot about that. And it was really hard when she passed away, because I said, I don't have the mentor who can give me that advice when I'm finding for a new job or just going in a different direction. However, one thing that is very important that I've seen in the industry, film industry and architecture, is the presence of women. The best people I ever work in the industry are women. The best producers I ever work in the industry are women, tough women, people who can, push your limits, but in that way, but you learn a lot from them. I learned a lot from them. And now with the nonprofit, I also have that. There's someone who's the executive director of a nonprofit. I met her when I started teaching her daughter in second grade. She's already graduated. So, but she was my student, my film student for 4 years. And she is a person that I always reach out, send her a message. We have coffee, we have lunch or something like that. In fact, I saw her last week to talk about my most recent decisions into, navigating my work and how to push my business more than, I'm not leaving education, but I'm separating a little bit of education right now, because I need, I'm getting a lot of emotions about working in the industry, and I feel that everything has been so great this past few years. My work with WiA and the conference has been amazing, and I feel that I wanted to keep going and push harder on this, but this is something that you need to compromise. You need to compromise sometimes in order to get certain things. So I decided to leave working with children's for a little bit, because I think I need to focus on this. So yes, I have some people from nonprofit. Like I said, her name is Joanna, and she is the executive director from a wonderful organization called Con Mi Madre. And this organization is an organization that basically helps moms and daughters to reach college with mentorship and advice and all these things. And she's been amazing. She was one of the first person who said, this is how you should set up your business. This is how you should define it. And this is the first person who said, stop saying videography. You're a filmmaker. So that was it's been great. And like I said, the presence of women is strong, because they're people who always provide me with support, advice, and a shoulder to cry.
Yeah. I know we're trying to hit towards the end, but now I got 2 other questions that I'm adding. So hopefully they'll be shorter. I know you're currently shifting into doing just your business full time, and a lot of architects deal with that situation where if they want to go off on their own, and that bigger leap of not having like a partial steady paycheck or moving on, and it can be very scary. Since you're live and in the moment, how are you feeling? Do you have advice for that roller coaster? Because it is a roller coaster ride for anybody I talk to.
The first few months have been nerve-wracking to me. That's basically how I can explain it. I've been lucky that I found a person who have one of those online services to mentor you. And this is a very legit person who, charge good money, but not that expensive that, it's not one of those people who said, I have the secret formula to make you win 10K every month. Yeah. No, I just want someone who can just help me navigate this. So, I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to take care of your mental health, because basically this take a toll on you. It took a toll on me the first few months when I officially, this is no longer me freelance, but it's me as Gus Bernal Film Follow Education, that was really hard. When you start, I remember that when I applied for the professional bank account, I start getting boxes and boxes at home. What is this? What is this? What I'm doing with this thing? What is this? And I keep like calling the bank, and he said, please tell me what's going on, because I don't know. I didn't ask for it. It's like, oh, this is a complimentary thing for you here and there. And he said, but I don't know what to do with it. So it was that, the bank account, and also, the big surprise, like, oh, every 3 quarters, remember, you have to pay your taxes. This is not just, they're going to take everything from your W-2. So that was another thing. So I think is one thing that is been pretty helpful to me is you need to take care of your mental health. I mean, I try to do a lot of meditations. I've been reading a lot of books about business. Even we have, thanks to one of those Zoom accounts that we got, we are able to use the masterclass membership, and those are great because you can just see how those entrepreneurs talking about how they do things. I mean, it's good to hear from them, but have some mentorship, like this guy who his name is Michael Janda, and he's on Instagram, and he's also on YouTube. So he have videos. So he's a very interesting person, and I've been learning a lot from him because we have to go to live groups and where we discuss our success and failures, because I mean, it's always good to discuss both. Not like, we're not going to talk about it. Oh, you know what? I talked to National and I win all this award and this and that. It's like, okay, fine. Wonderful that I'm having all these things here and there. But, what happened when there's no money coming 1 month? I mean, there's nothing I can do with my, with all the recognition I have. So you need to keep going. So I think, like I said, take care of your mental health, look for mentorship, especially look for people who are entrepreneur and have that, because they will give you some advice to how to navigate this, uncertainty. And, I always hear people saying, you know what, it's 2 years. Remember, 2 years for your business to literally, being successful, because it's going to be a lot of, you will have a lot of loss when it comes to money the first maybe year or two, because you're investing a lot in, all these different things that we do is investing. So you have to be ready to invest. You have to be ready to take care of yourself, and you need to do a lot of mentorship. If not, things are not going to work. And then you will be, depressed or stressed all the time.
Yeah, and just taking care of yourself, because you never know if it's going to be a static screaming off a rooftop type day or trying to hide under a rock. I know I hit both of those days with Mentor Dino, and I know my husband can always lift me up if I'm having a bad day, didn't hit as much engagement, or things not going the right way, and having to reinvent myself. So
yeah, spouses are great supporters. I mean, Alexandra's a great supporter. She she always said, I'm one of your biggest fans, something like that. So because she encouraged me to do all these different things and try different things. And then, this decision was also like, okay, you know what? We will navigate how to do this. But if we need to take that leap of faith and that sacrifice, we have to do it, because, I mean, people needs to recognize you for film, photo, and education, not just for Mr. Gus, the teacher who go to schools and teach children. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you could make it a cartoon and just make it Mr. Gus. I'm always thinking of like the little tiny books that were in like elementary school.
I love it.
But that even goes to like when you moved to Austin and you hit all those failures applying to jobs. You have to put yourself out there, and you pivoted to education. So you never know how this pivot will go, and you can always have fallbacks if you need some additional funds or anything coming up to hit that 2-year mark.
Yeah, I'm not quitting education per se, but in fact, my business said education, because I provide services to different organizations, not just schools, but Austin Community College and other nonprofits. So I mean, things keep going, and it will keep going, but not as the number one priority from my business.
Yeah. And I always like wrapping up my podcast with this final question. And it's, what advice do you have for young professionals just starting their career?
Well, I think in my case, and this is something that it works for me, is that you need to, and this is something that I also talk to people when they said, oh, and I'm going to introduce you to this young person who wants to get into the industry and different things. And the first thing I said is you need to find what moves you. What exactly is that part of the industry that you like? Because sometimes we'll pivot between different sides of the industry, and not everyone is that lucky. I mean, I was pretty lucky that when I started in the business, when I started like thinking about it when I was a kid, I was already interested in a specific part of the process. However, I've seen people who navigate to, I want to, a lot of people in the film schools or people will say, I want to be a director. It's like, well, maybe you're a good writer. Maybe you are a good art director. I used to have a student who she's amazing. And then she graduated from 5th grade, and now she's going to middle school, but it's an art-based middle school. And I wrote a wonderful recommendation letter, and I said all the skills that she have. I mean, she's good on sewing, so she loves to design wardrobe and costumes, but she's good at storytelling. She likes to write stories. She was also good like setting up a set to film with a green screen. I said, okay, you have all these skills. You're amazing. And that's what I did wrote in the letter. So I think to me, the most important thing is find what really moves you, what is really interested you. You might have to take some risk in working for free, because a lot of people in the industry, and it happens to me, when you work in the industry, sometimes you have to work for free or being an intern or different things. But it's also trying to find people who knows, like look for mentors, look for people who can provide advice, and people who are legit when it comes to teaching the things from the industry, because sometimes you find people who maybe they're not good mentors. They're good professionals, but they're not that skillful as a mentor. So I think it's important that you find people who can give you advice, who can help you, but also you need to take some risk and do it. But find what you need, find what you're looking for. Look for something that you really like and love.
Yeah, and that can definitely help guide you, and that may, I guess, change along the way, because I think you've had so many different experiences that helps you as you grow in your journey, like finding more and more of that niche that you find your passion, or if it shifts. So, yeah. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you, wants to start adding storytelling to their projects, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, people reach out to me on LinkedIn. I mean, it's always very active. And Instagram too. But I think that's the best way, because it's great, wonderful to get all these followers when people see the work that you're doing, or they saw you at a conference. So I mean, LinkedIn and Instagram are the best mediums to reach out to me.
Yeah, I'll put your Instagram handle below and your LinkedIn URL, whatever we're calling the LinkedIn one. I hate calling it a handle because it's like professional, so it's always weird. Mm-hmm. But I'll leave everything below. And Gus is also noted in my show notes every episode, so you know who's helping me along my path. So even if you need to come back and check this out later, you can always find his website information on every episode of mine. But I wanted to thank you so much, Gus, for taking the time to speak with me today. I know I learned so much more about your journey and appreciate your help with the podcast. I know that really helps my mental health and my production load for everything I'm doing with Mentor Dino. So, yeah,
no, my pleasure. I mean, I've been learning a lot editing all the podcasts. I mean, I even have like my list of favorites episodes where I see, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know about this. So it's great to hear people's advice and people's journey in different industries.
Yeah. So thank you again, guys.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. Learn some advice to take with you and see how our industry is all tied together to create the world around us. Check out the description below for any links or resources we discussed. If you liked the episode, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support finding that career path that best works for them. If you know someone that has inspired your own career that you'd like me to interview, let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me via my website or LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share their story or your own. Thank you again, and I cannot wait for the next career story I get to share with you next week.